to Carlos Zozaya.
Zozaya, yeah.
Who is here. You are the producer on Tendaberry. Congratulations on making micro American indie that speaks to me.
Thanks, man.
We'll get to Tendaberry in a second. There's a lot to talk about that film. I wanted to scale back, go back into your filmography, so I could permanently say that you're celebrating your 10th year in the American independent scene.
Pretty much, yeah.
Starting off as a script consultant or supervisor on Anna's The Fits, which is one of my favorite small films.
Yeah.
I imagine you were doing that while you were at NYU?
That was right after. So I graduated in 2014 from NYU, and then I went to office PA for Flies Collective, Zach, Matt, and Dan, and they were making Zach's first feature, Americana, in San Francisco. And they told me, you're doing great work here. I was interning for them and having the time of my life because I just wanted to, know cool people. And they were like, well, we might have the budget to fly out a PA at some point, like maybe it'll be you, maybe it'll be someone else, but maybe. And I was like, great, exciting, I'm down. To be flown out for a feature at that point was everything. Mm-hmm. And so eventually they looked at me, they were like, yeah, it's gonna be you, but we've never actually had a script supervisor on any of our movies before. Would you want to learn how to do that and give it a shot? And I was like, sure, I'll go from being a PA to my own department head. Of course I'll do that. So I cold emailed some script supervisors around who had done real movies and just sat and had some coffee and asked them, how do you do this? I understand the basic of what the job is, but I don't know how to do it. Yeah. And they said, they gave me some really good tips. One of them being, look out for not only the physical continuity, but the emotional continuity of scene by scene for the actors. Because sometimes that gets messed up. They're just coming from a big fight, and then the next scene, they're not as agitated anymore. That doesn't make any sense. So Americana was Zach's, and then after that one, Lisa Carroll was the producer for Americana. She was doing the Biennale College Cinema program with Anna Rose Homer, where they select, three, I think they select 3 features out of 12, about 4, okay. And they had just gotten selected while we were shooting. So I got an email from Lisa right after the fact, because I had, at that point I was very young and trying to learn everything from everybody. And so I would just walk up to the producer and say, how do you do, what are you doing? Can I learn from you? Can I help you with anything? And she and I got along so well, and I consider her my producing mentor for everything. And she was just like, do you want to come and script supervise The Fits? Absolutely. Made very little money because it's a tiny little movie and they make you have a very strict budget for the Biennale College Cinema program. You can't go above that. That's the point.
I think it's $100,000.
It was 150 when I was there with another project, and I think for theirs it was between 100 and 150. Yeah, it was a year or two before I did the other thing. But that's how I started script supervising, and I did it for a couple features, and from there started trying to branch off and do more other things. I feel like I'm more suited for production, and kind of handling everything, and I would be working not on those great movies, but on other, just day job things here and there, day playing on things, or other features that weren't necessarily that great, where I was learning and saying, well, I'm seeing how they're running this set, and I feel like I can do better. And I would start taking care of other people, saying, I would see the actor, looking for something, can I get you anything? And I would go, and even though I'm the script soup, let me go get you the coffee, little things like that. And yeah, very hands-on, and I enjoy it. I really love being on set. That's where I thrive. That's what I enjoy the most, is taking care of the people around me. And we chose to make movies for a living, and I think that should be really fun forever. Every set is stressful in different ways. Here's all the white hairs that I've gotten in the last decade, but I really love it, and I like when the energy is right, and when the people around you can feel like the producer's taking care of them. They'll give you their best, and then you can bring them back over and over again. Only so many times when you're paying them, very low wages to make these tiny little movies.
It is the case for where you are at this juncture in your life. Let's talk about a very seminal film for me. One of my favorite Sundance experiences is Tyrel. I was at the world premiere.
Oh, no way.
That film was, I can imagine, was just as chaotic behind the scenes as it was in front of the scenes.
For sure. Yeah.
If you look at all the talent that's on screen, it's mind-blowing, and of course it's a Sebastián Silva's film. I think one of his better ones. That's really I want to say that's a really important goalpost for you. I just wanted to go back in history and get a sense of what that project meant for you then and what it means for you today, looking back at it.
For sure. Tyrel is always going to be my first feature as a producer, and it's always going to be so special for that reason. I was given the chance. basically, this all started because I went to a Q&A for Crystal Fairy and the Magical Cactus. I was living, close to Union Square at NYU, and they were doing a Q&A with Michael Cera and Sebastián Silva, and I didn't know nothing about them except I loved Michael Cera, he's hilarious. So I went to that Q&A, and there was no moderator, and they're both hilarious human beings, and so they were just, riffing on each other, being so funny, and I knew Sebastián was Chilean, but I didn't really know his filmography at all, and he started talking about, I'm making a movie in Brooklyn next, and it's called Nasty Baby. And so I, decided to kind of sell my soul at the Q&A, trying to not be intrusive or ask for money or anything like that, but just say, I would love to help you guys out. I'm still in school. I don't need any money. I'm just trying to learn. Maybe I can PA for you guys for a couple, or whatever. And Sebastián, told me, can you make me sound not stupid on paper? And I was like, what does that mean? I was like, yeah, sure, I can try. And he said, okay, well, come over. Like, I'm going to LA to promote the movie, but I'll come back and come over to my house next week. And, and I was with my roommate at the time. And so we both kind of got hired for no money, but to help Sebastián, which for us was like huge. So we went to his apartment and started like reading some of his treatments that he has, many of which haven't been made yet, but, just fixing little things, because he's very much a stream of, like, he'll just write everything and go crazy with it. He's so talented. But there would be little mistakes, like a character's name's repeated, or it's not the right one, or we would just ask him questions like, does this make sense? And just help him fix up a little bit. So ended up doing behind the scenes on Nasty Baby for a couple, between classes. Me and my friend Gabe would take turns showing up after class or in the middle of the night to do what we could, and then cut a little EPK thing together that's in the, it's on the Blu-ray or on the iTunes specials. And then from there, got a call from Sebastián after having made a few more movies and, making it clear that I was interested in producing more. And they said, well, you're script supervising now, so maybe you can come and script supervise this movie, Tyrel, that we're making, and it's going to be upstate, and we're going to shoot. This was like in January, I think 2017, and we're going to shoot in February, like no time, right? And I was like, great. And you're also trying to produce, right? So maybe you can be an assistant to our producers and just kind of learn and help out. Excellent, great gig for me. And then they started, they lost their producer because she had moved to England, I believe, for a new job, and so. But the train was moving. Sebastián was insisting. It had to do with the Donald Trump presidency in the background, so very much like urgent film, we need to make it now while it's winter and while we have the actors who are my friends who I can bring on. And so I started, they were like, do you know how to make a budget? I was like, I can try my best, let's do it. They told me roughly what we had and how we could make that work. And so I started putting a budget together, called Lisa from The Fits, and said, can you please, can you take a look at this budget? Because I'm just kind of helping them out, and I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Like, I'm sure I'm forgetting a million things because I've never done this. She was like, of course, come over. So hung out with Lisa for a bit. She looked at my budget, helped me fix some things, and told me what she thought. And then she looked at me and she said, why aren't you producing this movie? I said, because I'm a script supervisor right now. They didn't ask me. They said I'm an assistant right now. I don't, She said, you're going to produce this movie. Like, you need to tell them you're going to produce this movie and just do it. And I said, you really think I can? And Lisa's confidence there just made me feel so good. And I said, okay, I'm going to try. And so I called Sebastián and the other producer and just said, listen guys, I'm kind of holding back here because we're running out of time. We don't have a producer. I'm kind of producing this right now. I'm putting all the numbers together, starting to put the package for what I know needs to be done, because I produce short films and I'd learned a lot at NYU and done things similar. But at that point, they were like, okay, yeah, maybe we'll call you a co-producer, and if the credit, if eventually the work reflects the work done, you'll be a producer. Wow, amazing. So I busted my ass, put the movie together, hired different people, hired Gigi Graff, who was my producing partner on that. And then Jay came on, and Max, and so forth, and we just had like 3 weeks to put this movie together because Sebastián was go, go, go. So luckily, he brought the actors, most of them already to the table, so that was the easy part. We had to still talk to the agents, make sure everything was above board. And the location was one location upstate that the production designer, best friend of Sebastián at the time, owned. So things were not that crazy, but we still had to put everything in place, make sure everybody was fed, hire the whole crew, make a schedule. Somehow we decided to make a schedule of 10 days straight. So we shot the movie 10 straight days, no time off, which was insanity. I don't know why we decided, obviously budget restrictions and things like that, but that's how we did it.
There's a lot of schedules to respect in there. I mean,
sure, all the actors and everything. So that was most of the producing, figuring out all of that back and forth of everything and how are we going to do it and where are we staying upstate, because yes, it's one location, but we have to put up the whole crew. The crew is 15 people or so, approximately, like most of my movies end up being very small, as minimum as you can, which comes with a lot of advantages, a lot of difficulties, sure. But that's how we made that. And it was a difficult movie to make. Many things that could have gone wrong went wrong. We lost power. We had a generator there, but like a tree fell in the middle of the street. We had to send our production crew, and I don't remember who else ended up going, but to try to move this tree. Yeah,
You know?
and it was great. We were freezing up there all the time, but we had such a good time because it was such a small crew, and we were all there for the passion. Like, nobody was there for the money on any of my movies, but everybody's there because they believe in the project or the people behind it, and that's what I believe in. So I'll strive, to make that the best it can be. I ended up doing way too many roles on that movie. I ended up producing, script supervising, and a bit more than that, just taking care of everything, making sure we were always moving. So that was a really hard and difficult movie to make.
Threw
but
you in the lake, and if you didn't know how to swim, you're now an Olympic
100%,
swimmer.
100%.
And what I want to say is everything that you're describing now says so much about the synergy or the energy of the chaos that we see on screen, and I think that's why I was so attracted to the film itself.
Yeah.
Kudos to this is a great story, and thank you to Lisa, which is really
Thank you to Lisa a million times and forever. I love her so much.
what I sort of like realize in the constellation of this Sundance edition is that there's two filmmakers that you help produce.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That are on other projects, and so I want to say that in a way you were there when they were still figuring out their voice, their style, from other films. How does it feel to be at a festival where you said, I help launch or assist that person in their creative vision? I wanted to get a sense of what that means to you, but also the fact that I want to get a sense of what it is for a producer where you might not want to participate on the next project. It might come from your stance, it might come from the director's stance, but how does professional relationships like that work when you sort of like have parallel careers, and you might end up working with these filmmakers again, but they made films 2 and 3, and you're not on that, and there could be multiple reasons for that. So I just wanted to get a sense of how special it is to see everybody.
No, I mean, it feels really great. I mean, there's Aaron Schimberg, who I co-produced a movie called Chained for Life with years ago with Flies Collective, and we had so much fun, and it was amazing. And I remember the script was so crazy, and it's about making a movie within a movie. And I was the production manager who ended up, doing quite a lot of work, and they were generous enough to give me a co-producer credit. And just remember, like, walking onto set and being like, "What is happening? Like, are we shooting? Is this the movie within the movie? Is this the movie outside the movie? I have no clue what I'm doing, but I know that Aaron is a genius. I know that Flies trust him implicitly, and I trust them implicitly, so let's keep doing our thing, and this is going to be great." And then seeing the final cut, I was blown away. Like, I always knew it was going to be great, but it's one of the favorite movies that I've worked on. Like, Aaron is a genius, and I can't wait to work with him again. And in terms of the new one, it's really nice to see him here with a different man, with Adam, also the star of it, who was also in Chained for Life. And I love Adam, and I love Vanessa, the producer, as well. And so it's really nice to just have friends around who I really love and who respect me too, and we get along great. And then the other person is Jane from World's Fair, right? So we made World's Fair for Nothing upstate. Me and Sarah produced it. Camila, my wife, coordinated that one. And so a lot of the same people ended up, working on the next thing that I did and so forth. And there's always like this family kind of revolving around me of people that I love and who respect me back and know that I'll take care of them, that are willing to come back for the next thing as long as they're not, doing a big commercial that's going to pay their rent, I hope to eventually have more races and not have to make them choose between that, but in terms of not being involved in the next things, I feel like it's just the way it goes when there's more money and when there's new things happening, and there's just more bureaucracy around things. These are both A24 movies who I love that production company. I respect them so much, but I'm sure they come with their own people. They have their certain rules and they have to do things a certain way, so you can't always be dragged along for every single thing. I'm certain we'll find each other back again on different projects here and there, and if not, that's totally fine. Sebastián does his own thing too. He's always jumping around different producers because the projects demand different things.
Sebastián has a type of filmography where you could easily see like he probably has like 20 features in his drawers or
he does.
on folders and stuff like that. So you could see how something falls apart, he just moves on to the next one. And
he doesn't stop for anything. For anything, he really is, and I really respect. That's something that I definitely learned from him, was just stop questioning every single scene. Doesn't have to be perfect. Not every line has to be exactly what you thought, and not everybody's going to consider you a visionary. Just do the thing you want to do right now and just get it done, and someone's going to love it. One way or another.
You are in Park City with
Tendaberry.
Haley Elizabeth Anderson. This is micro cinema that speaks to me. It's scrappy cinema, stolen shots. But what I get a sense is that there's a strong voice there, a strong singular voice. And the fact that you're on board, I find that it's fun to hear this, that there's 3 production company elements that help bring a small micro project like this to life. And it felt like by listening to the Q&A, felt that there was moving parts. There was like a whole bunch of different challenges regarding the actual the structure of the film, and a lot of happy accidents along the way. What kind of energy does it ask? What kind of mental capacity does it ask from you to work on a project like that? That's it's not obvious. There's no 10 straight shooting days, or with 2 days off. It's not a film like that. So how is it working on a project that demands for you to be much more in sync and much more, I want to say, supportive, I guess?
Sure. I had just come off a movie called Gasoline Rainbow that premiered at Venice last year that was a road trip movie with an outline. And we knew what was going to happen in every scene, but we didn't know how it was going to happen necessarily, who was going to say what. There was no lines written. So we gave it to the kids to just do their thing and shot it very documentary style in terms of 2 cameras going all the time, no cuts for a while until the thing is done. And I learned with that one to just be willing to pivot and change things as you go, because we were shooting in order. Luckily we had to, because the story would change. I remember asking Turner at some point, Turner Ross, one of the directors, what happens if it rains in this scene? Because then we have to shoot this other thing. He's like, brother, then it rains and the kids are wet. And that's what happens in the movie. I was like, lovely, I love to hear that. You're willing to, you need the right partner for that kind of flexibility. Not every movie can have that flexibility. Tendaberry certainly could not have that level of flexibility, because we were shooting in order. The movie's divided in 4 chapters of the seasons of the year, so there's fall, winter, spring, and summer. And the original plan was to shoot that over the course of 1 year and really do it during those seasons and kind of write as we went and fundraise as we went, which is really difficult to do. And Flies Collective and Dweck, Flies Collective first brought the project to me, and we had just done World's Fair. And they said, will you produce this with us? We really believe in this director. We supported her short pillars, and we really believe in her, and we think this is going to be great. We have a treatment, there's no script, but the first chapter, and also we have to shoot in 3 weeks again, because the first chapter happens in Halloween, and Haley insists that we shoot in Halloween because she's all about authenticity, which I very much respect. So I thought to myself, okay, well, this is like 4 short films over the course of a year. I was very hesitant to sign on for a thing for a whole year, but I have such a great rapport with Flies Collective. We get along so well on a personal level too, that they told us, we'll pivot if we have to. If you can't be involved in every part, maybe you can just oversee it and make sure that it's happening, but you don't necessarily have to be the producer there every single day. To which, gave me some reassurance, and I said, okay, great, let's take the plunge, let's figure this out. Again, only having an outline and one, 20-page script for the start of it or something like that. And then everything that is difficult about filmmaking happens, You have a tiny crew, you have no resources, no money at all, and you have to stretch every penny and satisfy this vision of this wonderful visionary director that I believe Haley absolutely is. And so there's a bit of a balance between fully trusting them and letting go from the vision a little bit, but also knowing from the experience that I have what makes a good movie, what works, what doesn't, to me, and trusting my gut about that. I also want to eventually direct my own stuff as well as producing. I don't think I ever want to stop producing. I love it. I think I'm good at it. And my career has turned into like, let me attach myself to this really cool voice and it elevates me. I do all the hard work too, right? But I've just learned so much from that. And so you have to be willing to kind of change things as you go and be willing to work the extra hours, but at the same time, try to set some parameters and put some limits in there to protect the crew of the people who are doing this, not be shooting for 14 hours a day, but respecting the 12 hours every day and saying, I'm sorry, we don't have time to do this. We have to pivot. Maybe we'll get to shoot that scene tomorrow. And there was, tension here and there in moments like that, but we had a really good team that unfortunately and fortunately, it had to change throughout each season because you can't have the same people all the time sign on for a year. Luckily, we had a lot of department heads, many of which came to Sundance and got to support the film, who were overseeing the vision, our production designer, our DP, those never changed, our co-producer never changed, etc. And from that, we were able to continue, trusting each other and doing the thing and saying, all right, get ready for another week. It's going to be intense, it's going to be crazy, but we're going to get through it, And then we had everything happen from COVID the day before the second shoot, for a lead actor, and having to push and pay some kill fees to make sure everybody was happy and, would come back. Yeah. But then you lose some of that budget, which is already extremely tight, and nobody's going to give you more. We were fortunate enough that Dweck came on board and helped us out with some budget and some creativity behind it. And we knew them already from World's Fair, and then, brought on Neon Heart Productions, who are also fantastic and helped us make the next thing. And that's kind of how we went, putting pieces together and continuing to do the vision and having rough cuts, and we shot on film, which made it really hard as well, but really beautiful.
It's so scary. There's so many moving elements. There's so it's like the seasons. Everything's changing. The conditions are changing to some degree, and you have to
Yeah.
You have to control the weather.
Exactly, and you can't control everything. Like some of the other very key things that we were really lucky that we had to control was having, for example, Dakota, who is the lead character in the movie, her apartment. She was going to live at the same place the whole movie, and that wasn't going to change. And that was very important to see the space change, but not have her. She doesn't have money to move somewhere else. You know, she's broke. She's trying to work multiple jobs. She's trying to make it work in the hardship of New York. And luckily, a friend of the productions, Anthony, knew Haley, knew Matthew, and he had an apartment that he owned and could give us that flexibility. And he's also a visual artist, so he does his own shoots in there, music videos. And he was just willing to kind of keep in touch with me over text here and there and calling each other every month or every couple weeks, just saying, hey man, so it looks like we're thinking about April this to that. Would it be free for our shoot? Oh man, I have a music video that I can't move. Okay, well, let's do this. But he never said that pretty much. He always was like, yeah man, thanks for telling me, like, I'll block this out for you guys. It'll be great. And then we would find out little things like, oh, the walls were painted a different color. You know, shit, okay, well, we have to paint them back the way they were. But little things like that, which we could control, luckily we had the through line of these really good people who believed in Haley's vision and believed in me as a producer, you know, to let us do that. But yeah, it's not easy to make a movie, and that it was designed to be over a year. It ended up taking 2.5 years because money's not there sometimes, and we did a bunch of ancillary pickup shoots. There is a chapter in summer, and July 4th was very important to the story, and seeing people sweating on the, you know, dancing on the boardwalk and sweating and fireworks and all the real stuff, yeah, that only happens around that time. So Haley, you know, Matthew and a few other people, I helped produce just a tiny little minivan and grabbed this camera from our friend and these tubes from our other friend and just go and do it, and good luck, you know?
I love it. Guerrilla
and
style.
very guerrilla style.
Let's talk about the near future. So obviously the hope with this feature is to keep on traveling with it. You do have the Ross brothers that world premiered in the Horizonte section last year, and so you're on that train as well. That's going to South by.
Yeah.
So what are some projects that you can talk about that are in the near future, and what are you? Do you do like game plans for yourself, like 2-3 year increments for yourself, especially if you're thinking about directing?
Sure. Yeah, that's a tough question about directing. I always say, like, I just need to make my short, you know, and find what I want to talk about, and just because at this point, my original plan was, let's climb up the ranks and work with all these great people, and then when the time's right, they'll help me out. And I feel like I'm there, where they will help me out. I know a lot of wonderful people. You know, Bill, when we finished, he came to me and he was like, I'll do anything for you, like, please let me know, which feels incredible when you're working with these super talented people. But I just haven't done it yet, and it becomes this thing of like, oh, I'm so exhausted. Like right now I'm exhausted from Sundance. I'm so happy, but I'm gonna go home and try to rest for a few days, and then by the time I start getting my life together and saying, all right, what's the next project, my bank account has $300 and I need to, you know, do something. So I'll make a commercial if I'm lucky enough and work on that. And then I'm tired from the commercial, so let me be a baby and baby myself and rest for a little bit. I should be writing, but you know what, and then I need, you know, there's this project that just showed up. I'm not ready to go again, but I'm gonna do it because it's with, you know, Haley Anderson or whoever. And so I'm very much falling into that place of continue producing, continue making the next things for my career and for the art of it, which is what drives me in my soul, and having to pivot and also balance with some commercial work, which I need to get much more of. So anybody who's listening to this, please hire me, and put some money in my pocket, you know. But in terms of next projects, there's nothing concrete right now that I'm working on that I've signed on to. There's a couple interviews that I'm going to do about potential projects. There's a documentary that would be interesting. We'll see. And there is a project that I have actually that I haven't talked to that many people here about yet, but it's a dance movie. I made a dance movie years ago with Boaz Yakin, who did Remember the Titans. He's an incredible director, and it's a dance movie choreographed by Bobby Jean Smith, who is an all-star in the dance world and just an incredible human being, and her husband Orr. And that movie got selected into South by 2020, and 5 days before we were going to go, the plug got pulled because of COVID. So we had a movie there, but I feel like nobody really got to see it. You know, people rented it on Amazon and got some good reviews and got some life, but not that much. And then now Bobby Jean, the same choreographer, a couple years ago hit me up and said, like, Carlos, I think we made a movie. I was like, what do you mean you made a movie, Bobby? Can you please elaborate? And she explained that she had been commissioned to make this new dance movement, and had been filming it with this director friend of hers, DP, and it looked beautiful. And I was like, it sounds like you have a bunch of beautiful footage and in hard drives and you want to sculpt that into a movie. She said, yes, will you please help me? And I said, I'll literally do anything for you, Bobby, because you are the best and the most talented and I adore you. And so we started getting to work on that, kind of post-producing it, which is not something I do very well, but just helping with the creative of it and letting them edit together and seeing where that came and giving them my notes. And we brought Mad Gene Media on board, who's Elvira Lind and Oscar Isaac, to kind of help produce, give us some money to finish, finishing funds, and we got Dweck on board, who I know from my other movies. I was like, hey, I don't usually fundraise. I usually make the movie. I don't usually fundraise. Would you guys be interested in being attached to this, giving us we need just a little bit of money, and Boaz ended up giving us some money too. So it became this family project of different people that I knew who put some money in, and we finished it, and it looks incredible, and I'm so happy with it. It's like a 67, 68 minute, not much dialogue, all on a stage, very ethereal dance movie that I'm in love with, that we finished, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with it. So I'm talking to some companies and saying, where can we license it to someone? Where can we stream it? Because, we tried the festival thing once, but it's a little bit of a very specific thing that not everyone's going to take a chance on, So if anybody comes around that wants a crazy cool dance movie, hit me up.
It is a different skew.
Very different.
Anyway, you've been I want to say hitting mini jackpots for a little while.
I've been really lucky.
And so, but just congratulations on your body of work, but also supporting visionaries and talents that need that support system in place, and being part of that fabric. It's a really important endeavor, and best of luck with your future projects.
Thank you so much.
Maybe get a couple commercials in
Let's get some money in the bank account so I can keep doing these tiny little indies full of love.
We love you for that. Thank you so much, Carlos.
Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you.
Hey, this is Eric from IONCINEMA.com. If you want to support us, subscribe below. For more reviews, interviews, film festival coverage from Sundance, Cannes, Toronto, you want to check out these guys on this side.